First View TV, your cutting-edge television station, interfacing Africa and the rest of the world with excellent documentaries, business news, investment opportunities, lifestyle, and much more. We're currently on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. You can also view while on the move at www.firstviewtv.tv. First View TV, changing the narrative.
I have with me this afternoon a very special guest, legendary broadcaster, award-winning, must I say, Mr. Yanju Adegbite. I know that in the 70s, 80s, for those who can remember, that was a name that would either pull them on the dance floor, having a great time, or with a melody of the ballads in the midnight, get them to sleep. But it really and truly is an honor to have him with us today at the First View TV studio.
Thank you very much.
So great to have you with us.
Thank you very much. The pleasure is mine. It's an honor being here.
Thank you so much. Guess, going by, should I say, your most enriched antecedent, viewers would like to just have a little insight into the person, Yanju Adegbite.
Yanju Adegbite is a very simple man. To the best of my ability, I try to be as humble as ever, perhaps based on the kind of background that I've had, come from a very, very humble background. If I was to start telling my story, I dare say we would need a camp meeting to do that. We might be here till kingdom come. I grew up in a mud house. I was born in a mud house that had no toilet. We had to go to the Ogupa River to do whatever we needed to do. And if it was night, we used to have what you call, they call it potty now, we call it pool in those days. And from there, my destiny started to change when I got admitted to government college in Ibadan. In those days, you pass the common entrance, and then you go to government college for 5 days, Monday to Friday, for the interview. If you could scale through, you know that you are just like a first-class material in waiting. Because government college was in terms of standards, was up there. I mean, the only schools in Nigeria that could say they are rubbing shoulders with government college, talk about King's College, talk about St. Greg's in Lagos, and then Gobi College. Those were the schools that had the same standard in terms of wholesome education, in terms of academics, in terms of sports, in terms of socials. In fact, there wasn't any game that was played in Nigeria that we didn't play when we were in school. Cricket, hockey, football, athletics, and such like. So from there, spent my 5 years there. Incidentally, I started my A-levels. And interestingly, my A-levels, I started with physics, chemistry, biology. I wanted to be a biochemist. I never knew I could even go into the arts. But somehow my father, who had died when I was in Form 1, I thought that was the end of it because he was struggling to pay our fees. Government college in those days was the school for the children of the bourgeoisie, ministers' children and what have you, the rich and mighty. And here was I, coming from that kind of humble background. So it was not easy for my father to be able to raise school fees. My father never owned a car till he died. And I remember that most of these children who came from Lagos at that time, a whole suitcase full of provisions, Bonvita, Milo, Ovaltine, and what have you. And all that I could boast of was some gari in a nylon bag and St. Louis cube sugar that they would put there. And then when I went to GCI, somewhere at Ojono, my dad would buy 2 loaves of bread. That's all I would take. So when I get to my room, I just push it into the lockers. And you discover that all my colleagues, the lockers will be so packed full. It won't contain everything in the suitcase. So much the suitcase still on the side. That was the kind of background that I had. So by the time I got to lower 6, I couldn't continue because of fees. So I had to withdraw. And I was looking for a job to be able to pay the school fees of my younger siblings, 2 of them, 2 boys. And I give glory to God today that same Yanju Adegbite today was able to send all his 5 children to a private university, private secondary schools. They all attended private university. 5 of them attended Bowen College. I mean, it's not easy to send a child to a private university in Nigeria, not talk of fine. But somehow God had mercy on me. And incidentally, I'm doing, my memoir is being produced right now. We've had 6 sessions already. We're hoping that it will come out by December. We have 6 sessions of interviews, of recordings, and the author, who incidentally is also a medical doctor, but he's a wordsmith. He's the one developing that. I decided to do that because my life is so loaded. Loaded in the sense that, and this might interest you, I was 6 months and a few days in my mommy's belly. They thought it was, it's still by the call it now. Anyway, they brought the thing out. It was like a big rat. And they said they should go and throw it away to Ogunpari River that we had at the back of our house in the Kebola. So as they were taking the thing there, someone did say, it looks like the thing is breathing somehow. I said, I was told all of this because there's no way I could have known. So they said, you better take it to Dr. Ruwarie at Okeajo Hospital. So they took, and Ruwarie at that time, 1955, already had some makeshift incubator. Put the thing in the incubator, and here I am. I survived. Perhaps that's what God is using as compensation, so much so that in 67 years of my life, I've never spent 1 second on the hospital bed. Not 1 second on the hospital bed. God has been so faithful. And I never knew that, even though they said that my grandfather, who was then a prophet, he had his own KNS church, actually prophesied when I was going to be named that Eleyi Adeyanju Nyele Adetoma Yanju ni Odema Lokiki. Everybody didn't take it seriously. I too, when I was told, because I met him, I think he died when I was 16 years old. I met him, and on hindsight, I could see that prophecy was real. Prophets do see too, but there are also familiar spirits that can say this is what's going to happen tomorrow. It doesn't mean, because even Satan himself, if Satan knew, if he had known what would happen if he killed the Lord Jesus Christ, he wouldn't have attempted it. So he could also see the future. He could see the future, but he didn't know the purpose. And only God knows all of that. So that's my humble life. I went to broadcasting from 1973 to I left in 1990. And to the glory of God, when Radio OYO was going to start as an offshoot of the old WMBS, with the creation of 3 states out of the old western state, we had Ogun, we had Oyo, and we had Ondo, and all the 3 of them had their own staff for their broadcasting stations. So I had a senior colleague in the industry who was like my mentor, was my role model, Alex Conde. The 2 of us spoke to the microphone to launch Radio YO in 1976. And when the FM station was going to start at Mapo in 1978, I was the first person to talk to the microphone. And lo and behold, when television service of Oyo State was going to start, the very first day, I was the first personality to appear there. All of that, I thought was mere coincidence. But on hindsight now, I can see that God actually had a purpose for it. And I learned so many things. In GCI, I was the only pianist throughout my stay. Came out, became an assistant organist in St. Anne's Church. That's one side of me that a lot of people don't know about. People didn't know that I could play the keyboard. I was a school goalkeeper. I was a school typist, and when I left, I did so many other things. I was a studio manager. I never even knew, because I was just looking for any job. And I got 2 jobs after 1.5 years of searching. One as an accounts clerk at Cooperative Bank, and just across the road was Radio Nigeria, and that one as a studio manager. So I picked up studio manager, and that's how my broadcasting career began.
How remarkable. Literally spellbound listening to you. Just thinking about how you were able to face the issues, what we'll describe as issues of life at a very, very tender age. It would have been quite times traumatic.
Yeah, it was. Very, very traumatic, I must confess. Because there was a time when I left government college, I had only 1.5 pairs of trousers. One was okay, the other one had patches here. And those were the only pairs of trousers I had for over a year before I got that job. But you see, before I got that job, there was an ad hoc one that I did as an enumerator at the 1973 census, that we were in one bush at Lalupon on the way to Iwo for 3 days to count people in the village. It was on the day that we were being paid our stipend that I got those two letters of appointment. And I give thanks to God for all of these. And I'm still around. I'm still around, as agile as ever. I have a particular, I think it's in Hebrews, I think, who is man that thou art mindful of him, who is the Son of Man that you visit him. That's my favorite. That, Father, who am I that you are so mindful of me? And who am I as a child of God that you visit me all the time with your mercy and your great grace? I always thank God, for that.
It's a story of purpose, I believe. Did you have a passion for communication at the very onset? Because you did say that your interest was to pursue course in biochemistry.
Yeah. Well, I used to be very shy. Even as I speak now, I'm still a very shy person.
It's very difficult to
I used to be very, very shy. But we had an expatriate principal at that time called Mr. Derek John Bullock. I had a classmate that we left the same primary school for government college, so we were so closely knit when we were in GCI. Incidentally, we were posted to the same house, Swansea House, in government college. So that very first time, I remember there was an announcement that those who are interested in taking part in the stage play should come for an audition. So my friend was going. I was not interested. So he said I should kindly escort him. So I went into the assembly hall. So all of us who didn't come for audition, we sat down at the back. All those who wanted in front. Well, unfortunately for them, John Bullock did not get what he wanted. So he now turned to all of us on top there. We had these different levels in those days in the assembly hall. Now it's all flat, And he said, all of you, come here. I remember making an attempt to run out. And he said, no, come here, my boy. So I went. So he gave us scripts to read. And at the end of that exercise, he picked 3 of us. He needed only one. So he said we should come back the following day. So we went back for the following day. And at the end of this exercise, the first person, that's why my classmate, the first person was first in singing, because it was an opera. You had to have a good voice to sing. Was first in singing. He was third in acting. The other person was first in acting, third in singing. So he just said, my boy, average. That's how he took me. It's called Sunito the Barber. That was the stage play. And from that point, I got so close to Derek John Bullock, and I started having I started building the interest and passion in the arts. From that point till I left, after 5 years, there was not a single stage drama that I didn't take part in. In those days, we used to have two, one Yoruba, one English. I took part in virtually, including Yoruba. Remember, Orupe and the Oluwalume Jordan, written by the Biofality in those days. You know, so that started to get me interested in the arts. Even though my A levels, I did physics, chemistry, biology, which I didn't complete. I withdrew second term of the what we call lower six. Those days, that's HSC 1. You know, so that's how I got it. And then when I now got this job, I didn't have any passion for broadcasting. I just wanted any job that I could earn some living to be able to pay my brother's school fees. And somehow, when I got to Radio Nigeria, I was an engineer on the console. I never even would speak to the microphone. You know, until one day the announcer didn't come, and we had to open the station. So I moved to the announcer's cubicle. I was the operator on the console. I put on the fader for the studio because the announcer also had his or her own fader. I put it on permanently to rush to the other side to open the station. And then I did what you used to call programs parade. Now, today, these are the programs that we have. And after all of that, I just say, we now begin today's broadcast with early morning worship in Yoruba. Close the fader, rushed out. I had already queued that program. It was on pause. I released the pause. And then it went on air. Then the head of presentation came later in the morning and said, who was it that opened the station this morning? And he said, the announcer did not come because the driver, the boss had a problem. He didn't come to pick us that morning, but I had to take public transport all the way from Ilewura in Challenge to come to the studio. I thought that was the end. She said, what gave you the audacity to put your mouth to the microphone to open the station? I said, I'm sorry, man. I had the knowledge of 1966 school where if the announcer did not open the station, there must be a voice that opens the station. They would think a coup had taken place. So I didn't want that, so that's why I decided to open the station. She now asked, well, you have the English language, about oral English, A1. Which school? I said government college. No wonder. Because in those days, if you didn't make A1 in oral English, they will make jest of you. So you will feel like, So that's how. And then there was supposed to be an announcer's course, the basic announcer's course, at the NBC training school in Lagos, at Obalende. Ibadan didn't have any candidate, any nominee to send there. So the following week, I was given a letter to proceed to Lagos for that announcer's course. Coming back, I was now deployed from production services to presentation. The rest is history.
Amazing. Amazing. Evidently, that is a chosen pathway, divinely ordained for so many men who are faced with a choice in life. At times, they would lean more towards the basics of security, just to ensure that they're able to meet with their commitment and pay those bills and stuff.
Yeah.
But sadly, the diversion is completely away from the main purpose. What would you say, particularly to people who have a passion, but they are overwhelmed with the challenges of life, those diverting away from that inner passion, because you pursued your passion so rigorously?
Yes. Well, I first and foremost, I owe it to the great grace of God, because at that time I never knew I was pursuing a passion. Because the interest and the passion developed over time. It's not like somebody who says, if it was biochemistry, I would have said, yeah, that was where my passion lied, but I didn't have a credit in chemistry. I did it twice as an external candidate, GCE. As he did not make it, I had a pass. you know, and eventually, after I started now developing the interest in broadcasting, I forgot about biochemistry because I always loved, you know, we had very functional laboratories in government college, you know, when we were titrating and stuff like that. I used to enjoy it. In physics, we would go out to capture images with our camera, so black and white at that time. Then we come back to the dark room in physics laboratory. You know, everywhere would be complete darkness. But you stay for about 1 or 2 minutes. After a while, your eyes will adjust to that darkness, and you're able to move around to be able to develop the film. Remember Kodak film in those days, you know. So I used to enjoy it, but somehow that wasn't the plan and purpose that God had for me. Now, all of that prepared me for what I eventually started doing for God, which is producing programs, setting up communication departments, media units for churches. I've done like about 10, you know, for churches, you know, and God had used me also to produce programs for many ministries that are currently even on air right now. Some of them on satellite stations, some of them on terrestrial, you know. So I believe that's where, and then I learned about how to handle the camera as well. I was one of the first 3 that started recording what we call video coverage of events. That was 1979. You know, in those days, we didn't have the luxury of using this kind of cameras. You have your recorder like this, and then the camera, you hold it like a gun. You couldn't have handled a video coverage very well without you buying rub or some ointment to put on your shoulder, because the whole place would be. So I was also a cameraman. It gave me an opportunity to learn about what you can use a camera to achieve. So I knew virtually about the entire gamut of broadcasting. That's the reason why I was on radio till 1982 when TSOS, Television Service of Oyo State, was going to start under Bolaigi. And we were asked who was interested. And I wanted some other challenges. Let me go into television and go and do something there as well. That took me to television. And I've been on television for forever.
Fantastic. We've all heard it and massively inspired by your, I say, testimony. It's really been great having you on the program.
Thank you very much.
This evening.
Thank you very much.
We do wish you the very, very best.
Thank you very much.
In all your future endeavors.
Thank you very much. And I see First View Television in the nearest future, during my own time, becoming one of it will be known and celebrated all over the world.
Thank you very much for your kind comment.
First View TV, your cutting-edge television station, interfacing Africa and the rest of the world with excellent documentaries, business news, investment opportunities, lifestyle, and much more. We're currently on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. You can also view while on the move at www.firstviewtv.tv. First View TV, changing the narrative.